Hello and welcome back, everyone, to the Cancel for Maintenance podcast. If this is your first time joining us, we talk about the non-glamorous life of aircraft maintenance. Our goal here is to give some insight to aircraft maintenance as a whole, impart some laughs, give some wisdom, all in hopes is to give you that split seconds relief in your day to prevent mishaps. I am Six.
I'm MVP.
And our third host, Shoreline, is silently in the back, making sure our audio is good to go and that our faces stay fit for radio. It's always funny saying that, man. Thanks, Shoreline. You're the freaking best, man. I love the fact that you're just there in the background, making sure shit is going good, turning knobs and all that.
Yeah, when Six says silently in the background, I mean, that even strikes more home for me. I can't tell you the last time I heard your voice. You know?
Right.
We miss you.
We do miss you. You need to hurry up and get back on the mic here, Shoreline. Come on, man. So for today's episode, this kind of hit home pretty much the past 2 weeks and more so this week. And this is going to be about mentorship. So with mentorship, and I was telling MVP this before this episode kicked off, is you get a lot of individuals who feel that they're so good at their job, and you can kind of hear the exaggeration or the embellishment in their voice, especially in their resume when they say that. And I believe, like, some people, if you've been around long enough, that you actually think you're good enough, or you might actually be really good at your job. But I think the mindset shifts, or when the rubber meets the road, when they have to teach this to somebody, or they have to help develop somebody, they realize that they're just not that sensei as they think they are. Or they tend to blame it on the person that they're mentoring, if that makes any sort of sense to everybody. Like, oh, you're just not picking this up fast enough. You're just not grasping the concept. And I like to default back to an old saying where there's no such thing as bad students, only bad teachers. So I feel that, especially for myself, when I had to mentor people, like, there's times where I feel like they're not grasping it, but it also falls on me, because sometimes I think I'm just not taking into account their learning style, if that makes any sort of sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's not a one size fits all. We all don't learn the same way. Some people can read about a subject and all of a sudden they're a subject matter expert. Mm-hmm. While others, like myself, I have to do it several times, repetition, before it's kind of ingrained, and then I can roll with it. You know, I can read about it, sure, but I really have to apply it to gain a grasp of it. So I'm kind of a hands-on type learner.
Right. And another reason for mentorship is because the way businesses are transforming nowadays and how fast they're evolving, there's the ability to adapt to this and expand your mindset, expand your horizon and your skill sets, really kind of depend on your ability to develop yourself and the people around you. And mentorships is kind of that bridge between where you need to be and where you are presently, and how you're being mentored and how people are mentoring you really kind of help that mold or make or break that bridge. So, like, traditional mentorships like involve like employees, say, of different tenures. Like, you're a brand new person, been in the company for like 2 or 3 months, maybe less. And so you're paired up with someone who's been in the industry for X amount of years plus. And then they're kind of just like the shadow me kind of people, right? Like, they don't do so much talking. They just kind of give you like an OJT sheet and you just sign it off and this and that. But nowadays, with so much stuff that you have to absorb, there has to be like this two-way conversation almost constantly between you and whoever the mentor is, or if you as a mentor and the person you're teaching or developing. And so there's different styles of mentorship. We can dissect this as we need to, but there's really like almost this transformational phase that you have to go through for both the mentor and the person being mentored, or mentee as they call it. And there's so many programs about these in pretty much every industry nowadays, because it's such a useful tool to have. And if you're not utilizing this correctly, or how we mentioned not too long ago about how you're not taking into account the person's style, both as a mentor and the person being mentored, then all this stuff kind of just goes to shit. And it just turns into a pencil whipping exercise where like, do you understand this? Yeah, sure. And scribble, scribble. I understand this. Can you teach me a little about that? And they just tell you like, oh, just read the book or just look it up on your own time kind of shit. Like, well, that doesn't help me not one bit, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, so I kind of have some personal experience here very recently as I'm currently in an active mentorship, he's a great leader, really knows how to relay information, listens to feedback and then is trying to adjust, responses accordingly to whatever my specific situation is. But how this started off is that they ask questions. Well, what do you hope to gain by this? Because I think a lot of people approach it from hey, I'm going to do this and I hope you give me a job out of this because I hate where I'm at. I don't want to be here. So I'm going to become a mentor. But essentially, this is just me interviewing with you over and over in hopes to get a job. Well, that's not really the purpose of a mentorship. The purpose is, to help you grow both personally and professionally, at least in my opinion. And that's been my experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you hope to get from this? Well, I've got some struggles within my current area of operation. Here's my barriers that I'm running into. How do I overcome these barriers? And then, okay, well, we lay out these barriers and they'll start trying to answer one by one. And it'll say, oh, give me a minute to think on that and we'll discuss it in my next meeting. So actually what this gentleman will do is he'll go and he'll research different stuff that I've barriers that I've posed to him. And he'll come back and say, hey, I actually went and was reading through this, management style guide. And here's how I would approach that situation, but here's how some others have too. So it's not just them going, here's what I would do. Because while one, they've been successful so far to get to the positions they've been in, but again, it's not a one size fits all. What worked in this situation for them might not work in that situation for you because it's also personality dependent in some situations, right? Type A, mm-hmm. Type B.
Right.
But you start molding and it's not going to be all solved in the first meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be, okay, here's the situation. Okay, here's what I think you should try to overcome that barrier. And then let me know. Give me feedback on what's going on. Hey, I tried it. And for one of the issues I ran into, I was unsuccessful in the attempt that they gave me and said, hey, here's what I would do. Put this person on the spot, fight for feedback. It's in my specific situation, right? Fight for feedback. Make them give you feedback. I was very upfront, very forward with it, and I got zero response. So I went back and said, hey, that didn't work. Okay, well, let's try it a different way then, and so that's, you keep kind of molding it. And we talked about the adaptability, right? In other episodes with agile, project management kind of stuff, but it also, the flexibility and that kind of methodology applies in your personal and professional growth, right? Hey, Six, I have a problem. Well, MVP, here's what you should do to fix it. Well, let me give it a shot, right? I haven't thought of that before. Okay, let me give that a shot. Hey, Six, I tried what you said and it worked up until this point. Interesting. Let's put some more thought to this, right? So those kind of things, right? You kind of keep working and they help you to overcome those barriers, and that helps you grow as a person. And, say you struggle with public speaking. Well, what are we going to do? Hey, I know this one group over here, and they do public speaking. They go talk to the local colleges and high schools on career days and talk about our business and what we do. I'm going to sign you up for that, and you're going to go talk in front of people. Oof. Well, yeah. I don't like to do that. Yeah, but you said you wanted to get better at it, so you obviously see that you have a need there to get better, and you want to get better. Otherwise, you wouldn't have said anything. So it's like a mother bird with the hatchlings. He's going to kick them out of the nest. Fly. Time to fly,
Get out. And I like the fact that you mentioned that too. And you brought up a very great point about selecting a mentor, or finding a mentor who has X amount of accomplishments. It's more than just that, right? Because we always want to pick the sensei or the mentor that has like the most notches on their belt or has like a whole bunch of accolades and whatnot, which sounds fantastic on paper. But, there's more to it than that. Sometimes that person might have a whole bunch of accolades because of their personal style, which may or may not fit with how you want to do things. So you kind of have to be somewhat picky with who your mentor is or who you're mentoring, because your styles and your personality just may not jive. Like if I'm trying to teach you how to be a certain way and that doesn't jive with you, then we're just going to be running around in circles until we're both blue in the face. So a good notion is to think about what you yourself are passionate about. What are your hobbies, your curiosities? What do you hope to accomplish? And bring that to the table when you do pick a mentor or you do pick a person to be, or a mentee. I got to start saying mentee, but start figuring that out. Because if you were to just try to put a square peg in a round hole, I mean, beat to fit, that's the only thing that you're going to be able to do about it. And so being able to find someone who matches and mirrors somewhat similar to your personalities or somewhat similar to your goals and hobbies and whatnot, that helps in the translation between knowing where you are now and knowing where you want to be. And it makes that bridge a lot more easier to cross once you start actually doing the work, be it the mentor themselves or the mentee themselves.
Did you just give us Moana sailing tips? Knowing where you're going by knowing where you are by knowing where you've been.
Yep. Yeah. Oh
sorry,
my God.
I totally derailed the conversation when you said that.
But that's true though.
It was Maui saying that.
But that's true though.
It is true. Yes,
that is true. Like, you're never gonna know where you're gonna go unless you know where you've been. Like, navigation 101, everybody. Go ahead.
To get back on subject real quick. So I think it's important to say, hey, a mentor can be anybody. It can be somebody above you in the chain of command, somebody below you in the chain of command. It's really all on the person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Six could mentor me, and that's just fine. But for my own, how I view things, I guess, or my approach, I actually chose a mentor outside of my organization altogether in a completely different industry. Somebody I've known for a long time, and I've watched, and I've known them since I was, a child, and I've watched them get to the very tops of their career, high in the chain of command in that time. So I reached out to them and said, hey, would you be interested? And they said, yeah, I'd love to. I'm very busy, but I'd love to do this for you. And they actually said, while we do this, but I think it's important you also get somebody within your organization. And I said, oh, okay, that's it. May I ask why? And he said, well, while I can guide you on a lot of things, but I also don't know the inner workings of your organization. But that person does. So we can talk about a whole bunch of stuff, and I can guide you in a general professional sense and a general personal sense, but career, industry, corporation specific, I wouldn't be able to do that for you. So I said, okay, interesting. So I went and found an additional mentor. So I have two, one outside of the organization and one in. And I think that's very important because the person outside knows zero of what your specific industry is or what you do in that industry. So they're going to give you a way unbiased opinion. And by the way, even whether you're in or out, it should be unbiased all the way around. But, you're going to get a pretty broad stroke with the person outside the industry. Now, the person inside is going to be able to tailor it a little bit more. And so with that, I have the mentor internally. And what's nice about that is I get to meet that individual face to face, during meetings, which is great. I think that's crucial too. If you can work that into your schedule, have face to face discussions. But as we've gone through and talked about things and say this and that, this individual has told me about different groups and programs within the organization that I can meet other professionals and get face-to-face time exposure, network a little bit, and learn who other professionals are and how they operate as part of my growth path. I didn't know those programs existed until I talked to this individual. They're not really broadcasted anywhere, or if they are, I don't know where they're at, and I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but it's not like a big banner. It says, join this. So it's pretty interesting, and I think necessary to see both realms, a completely unbiased external party, and then somebody within your organization. Now, again, your mentor could be, if Six is my boss and we work in the same department, right? We're both mechanics on a 737 line. He can help me grow personally and professionally, but his knowledge or scope of view might be only that 737 line. So what I did was I found somebody high in the chain, but in a completely different sector and a completely different work center, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maintenance, and let's say they're IT or whatever, just totally different. But so again, there's a little bit more of an unbiased. I said, well, I know the organization and I know some people, and I know mechanics exist, but I really don't know what you guys do on a daily. But here, let's work through this together and make those connections. And again, some of the things we've tried didn't work. Some have worked with great success. And some things, I've talked about, and you watch them, the mentor scratch their head saying, man, that's hard to believe, until what you say is kind of proves you right. And then they go, oh my gosh, wow, I really need to reevaluate. I'm jumbling my words. A good mentorship helps both parties grow.
Yes, very much so.
So they're helping me grow personally and professionally with how I operate, how I view things, how I should approach things, attack a project, whatever else. But also, if I'm bringing something to them, I might bring a situation to them they've never encountered themselves. They scratch their head going, oh boy, I thought I'd seen it all, but here we are.
Right.
So now they have to completely reevaluate their thinking too. And that's helping them expand their scope and their knowledge.
Absolutely right. And bless you.
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone.
No worries. And also, I love the fact that you mentioned about finding someone outside of your area or your work center or your department. The reason why that's a good thing too, because that might be the place you want to be in, right? Like you're a mechanic, but you want to be an engineer, or you want to be a project manager, or you want to be budget and analytics or something like that. It's maybe beneficial to find that person or that mentor or coach in an area that you're trying to go to. That way it gives you a little bit more of that exposure, as MVP said, to, is this really where I want to go, right? And then it's also good to have someone who's outside the realm, so it kind of challenges your thought process, if that makes any sort of sense to anybody. Like example, with my case, I'm an aircraft mechanic, but one of my mentors was a statistician, right? Like someone who looks at numbers and math all damn day. And the reason why that was good for myself was it wasn't so much the numbers that challenged me. It was the way they view the numbers. And when you take that kind of method of thinking and apply it to, say, the mechanic flight line, like, wow, there's a lot of shit that happens here that doesn't make any sort of freaking sense, right? Or it's wasting a lot of money and time. And there's so many, and then it can kind of challenge you, like, well, what can we factor in or out to make this any better? And you bringing that same mechanic mentality to that mathematician, say, now they understand, like, not all things that are statistically valid are not practical, if that makes any sort of sense. Like, it sounds great on paper, but once you try to apply it, it doesn't sound right, or it doesn't work out as you think. Like, say it ain't so, right?
Yeah.
Say it ain't so. And we were kind of saying this earlier, but be selective with who your mentors are or who your mentees are. And the reason why I say this is, because if your style doesn't match how they learn, or their style doesn't match how the way they teach, you're just being abrasive, and it doesn't leave room for any development. Now you're just challenging them for whatever have you. And sometimes, like, depending on what organization you're on, you're kind of just assigned a mentor, so you don't really have a pick in who they are. Case in point is like say new kids check into the flight line for the first time. You really don't have a say in who's going to be your coach, so to speak, or who's going to be assigned your developmental process or training. You kind of just have to go along with how they see fit. And sometimes they work great for some people. Sometimes they work very negatively for some people. But if you are able to pick somebody, and sometimes it's not going to be the option for your organization, as in MVP's case, it might benefit you to find someone outside of where you're at or where you are, because like that,
well, I think on top of that, it adds that you can be a little bit more open and candid about the real issues you're facing within your personal and professional lives, right?
That's true. Yes.
If you got issues going on at home and you say, man, I'm trying to do this, but tensions are so high at the house and I'm up all hours of the night because I'm so stressed out thinking about how to resolve this or whatever else. If I'm talking to my direct superior, that's a little uncomfortable. I think it's too in the house. It's too. What am I trying to say? It's too close to home, I guess. Like,
right.
So it might be not that it shouldn't be used against you. You should feel good as that person that somebody's willing to trust you enough to open up to you. But let's say you're late one day or whatever else, and it's like, or you're late a few days in a row, and they're going, man, your problems at home are really starting to affect this place. You need to
like tighten it up,
figure it out, tighten it up or whatever. And okay, we all try to not have our personal lives bleed over into our home life, but we know it does. And so that mentor should be going, hey, I noticed you've shown up late a few days. Let's talk about it. Well, why is it? Well, XYZ reasons. Okay. Well, how about this? Can you stay later? Yeah, I can stay a little bit later. Okay, let's just start your time, your working day, an hour later than what it normally is. Would that help? Or, hey, do these days not work for you? If you're on a 410 and you're off on Fridays, but you're always late on Monday for whatever reason, okay, well, can we switch you to Tuesday through Friday? Would that better help your schedule? Something, right? I'm just spitballing here, but that's how the mentor should approach things. Six, you said something earlier, about showing up on the flight line and, well, you get who you get and this is how you do it. And if your mentor says, here, I think you should try this, and you go, hey, I tried, it didn't work. And if you come back to them and tell them that, and go, well, you must have done it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably not what you want in a mentor either. You're going to want somebody to go, okay, what aspect of that didn't work? Well, actually, steps 1 through, there was 10 steps to what you told me to do. Steps 1 through 6 worked. But 7, it fell apart. And because 7 fell apart, 8, 9, and 10 didn't even have a chance to get liftoff. Okay, now we can narrow that down. Instead of me just going back and saying, well, you must have done it wrong. We say, okay, well, part of it worked. Let's figure out what happened at step 7, that crushed the progress.
Right.
And go from there. Oh, 7 didn't work. Why didn't 7 work? Well, because you guys don't actually have anything like that in your work center. Okay, so let's go ahead and skip that. Now it's a 9-step process or whatever. But they shouldn't be coming back to you and saying, and conversely, right? If you're given direction, your response shouldn't be, that'll never work.
Yes.
Because if I'm Six's mentor and I say, hey, Six, you've posed this issue to me. Here's how I think you should approach it, or we should approach it, however you want to state it. And if Six comes to me right away, his first response to me is, that'll never work because that's just dumb. Nobody's ever going to listen. Okay, well, then we're failure to launch here, because if you're not willing to even accept direction or some type of guidance, then I'm wasting my time and you're wasting my time too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like one of the relationships between mentor and mentee is there's got to be a little bit of surrender when it comes to like that relationship. And what I mean by that is like you as the mentee, you kind of have to surrender a little bit and have some trust that the mentor is giving you good feedback or good direction. And sometimes your comments, your sense of awareness may challenge that, right? Like, oh, this just sounds dumb. This may not work. And you can kind of voice your concerns about it. But if your concern is just like, oh, that just sounds stupid, then again, as MVP said, we're failure to launch here. But unless like it's been tried before and you know for a fact it's not going to work because of XYZ situation, then that might be something you want to bring up. Like kind of set the limits here of what is possible. But at the same time, don't just outright deny it because you yourself haven't tried it or you just feel that it's not going to work, right? And then likewise, as a mentor, like there's a little bit of surrender. Like sometimes the advice you give may not be in the best interest. I'm sorry. Like if I'm a kung fu teacher and I'm gonna try and teach someone how to use a like a sword, I'm sorry, like it's just not gonna work. You know what I mean? Like if I don't understand what a sword is, I can't teach you how to use one. That's just how it is. But there's always that little bit of surrender from both parties to make sure that what we're giving and what we're offering and what we're trying is all within limits of capability. And MVP brought it up perfect as well. Like if we're not willing to try or at least see the process through, then what's the point? We're just wasting time. We're expending energy here for both parties. And being a mentor, say, you got to kind of have to understand like what's this person's capability? What are they able to do? Not just willing to do. Like I could be willing to go into space, but if I have osteoporosis, there's no fucking way I'm going into space. You know, some shit like that.
Well, I'm going into space, but it's only happening one time.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Or like if I have like some kind of aneurysm that just makes my my heart explode, I'm sorry, you're not going into space, man.
Yeah, and so if I, another good thing about a mentor is, let's say you're working through some things and you're going, hey, I've tried what we've said, but I'm just getting zero feedback from my superiors and my own chain of command. And I don't know what to do, right? I'm only at so much level. I don't want to keep beating on their doors or keep sending emails. I don't want to feel like I'm begging, right? Mm-hmm. I'm begging for their input. The mentor, right? Especially if they're higher in the chain, they're going to go, okay, well, they're going to answer me, mm-hmm. I'll get some answers. If they're not willing to answer you, they'll answer me. And if they're willing to ignore my email, I'll find their office,
Yeah.
Like you're going to talk to me one way or the other.
Yeah.
And so that's good, right? You got somebody kind of going to bat for you a little bit, right? So somebody's not just blowing hot air at you all day, and they're actually holding themselves accountable to some degree. So they're willing to step up even more to help you, and that's a sign of a great mentor as well.
Yes.
Getting and what they should do as well is reach out to your superiors. Hey, I've engaged in if I'm Six's mentor, I'm going to reach out to, hey, Shoreline, I understand employee 6 works for you. He and I have entered into a mentorship, and I'm just looking to you to get some feedback on what you think this individual needs to do within their realm of work that would help them grow not only as a person, but in their current position and within the company itself. What is your perspective? How does of this employee's skill set, work ethic, personality, whatever that would help me help them? Ultimately, it's going to help you. And if you have any type of decent leadership, they'll respond. And if they don't respond, well, I think you've got your answer.
Yeah, right. No kidding. And we've had those kind of people, right? Where sometimes like the mentor is kind of like, well, like I've reached the limit of what I know now with what you're going on. So I need some outside input to give me a little bit more perspective, because if I'm only seeing what they're seeing without viewing what the whole picture is looking like, then there's nothing else I can do for that person. So as a mentor, you got to have to be able to work around those issues. And chase down what the source might be, or hear a perspective from someone else, like that person's boss or that person's department lead, whatever the case may be. The willingness to explore the options and see what other factors are contributing to that mentee's personal development, personal and professional development, is what makes a good mentor. Also, like, sometimes I hate saying this, but as a mentor, you kind of have to have that, be that pillar of positivity, right? Like, even the little wins, you got to kind of celebrate it with them. And the reason why I say that is because if you're just that mentor who's very salty, right? It's like, oh, congratulations, you did your job kind of shit. That really just kills the engine of development, if you ask me. Like, I've had many mentors where, like, I pretty much have to save a person's life just to get any kind of rise or fall in their voice. I'm like, well, why am I here? And I'll be honest, like, those kind of mentors I was assigned, right? I didn't get to pick them.
Right.
So like, it's almost like worthless. Like, why am I even talking to you, kind of thing, right? But it's one of those checks in the box that the company or the organization just has to have. And that's one of the things I kind of hated too when I was assigned people as mentors. Like they just have like this red folder or whatever kind of note-taking gear to track progress and performance. And most of their stuff is just cut, paste, or it's already pre-filled. They just change names or dates and shit. I'm like, but this doesn't help at all. Or they only see you like once a year when it's time to do their reports or some shit. I'm like, I can't really say you mentor me because all you do is just see me once, if that. Sometimes you're not even on the same shift as me. So why are we even here? So,
right. Yeah.
So another thing I want to tail off on that one is, as a mentor, you got to have that willingness of availability. If you're not available all the time, or at least available to give like a 10-minute session, then just don't bother. Like, stick to what you're doing. Just stay in your hole and just crank away at whatever it is you do. I'm sorry. Likewise,
yeah, and you'll learn right away, right? Six is alluding to all this, but you'll learn pretty quick. You'll learn pretty quick who's willing and wanting to take the time to go over things with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say, oh, well, let's do an hour meeting, but at like 45 minutes in, they're like, they keep looking back at their computer, or they're looking at their watch or whatever else. Like, they either didn't want to allocate enough time to you, or that they didn't clear their schedule like they should have to work with you, or if they're rushing out the door, constantly canceling, or I don't know, just any of the above, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's you'll figure it out. Okay, this isn't for me. Break
Mm-hmm.
it off. And in fact, you probably, with somebody like that, you probably won't have to say, hey, I'd like to end this mentorship. It'll probably just dissolve itself. And they say, oh yeah, well, next time just throw something on my schedule. Well, you don't throw anything on their schedule, and they're not going to be any the wiser, right?
Yep.
but like in my specific instance, right, we'll set up an hour to discuss, and I leave my phone out of the room. That individual puts theirs on silence. They actually lock their computer, and we move away to a whole different side of the room at a separate table with no electronics. And we're discussing it. I've kind of witnessed the last few times that when I get out of there, we've been in there an hour and a half, hour 45,
Mm-hmm.
discussing things, working through stuff, right? This person, one of the first things they said to me was, hey, look, we can't sweat the small stuff. And I'm here to tell you, it's all small stuff. And that was like kind of profound to me. These problems aren't really as big as we're making them out to be. We'll just resolve it. Just do the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was kind of interesting. Instead of dwelling on issues happening, what's the good in dwelling on them? Let's take action. Let's be about it. Okay, awesome,
Right. And then that's another big one too, is like sometimes we go in there, we think like our problems are huge. I mean, they may feel that way because they're compounding, but once you start like pulling away the foundation stone, they all start crumbling. Like, well, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Right. Yeah. Sometimes it takes that proverbial or that slap in the face, metaphorically, to really kind of put you in a perspective. And I would say this as a mentee, the person being mentored, like you got to be committed to wanting to do stuff, right? You got to have clear finish lines of what you want to be. And the reason why I say this is because like, oh, I just want to be an executive. Cool. An executive of what? Right. Yeah. Right. I don't know how to, like, I want to win a race. What kind of race? Right. A marathon race, a foot race, a freaking hacky sack race, or what, potatoes.
I want to be the executive of what? I don't know. I just want to be an executive. Cool. You're now the executive of emptying the trash cans around the hangar. Congratulations!
Right. Nothing stopping you from taking.
Well, you didn't really specify.
Right.
Sounds like you just wanted the title, and we've bestowed that upon you.
Right. Yeah. And another reason why is because if you don't have a clear goal where you want to be, I'm sorry, as a mentor, like I don't know where you're gonna go. So I don't know where you want to go. So good luck. Right.
And sometimes you might not know where you want to go, right? Sometimes, and the mentor will help dissect that and disseminate that over the course of several meetings, right? But you got to have some general direction. Hey, what's your goal? Well, I want to progress up the chain because of additional responsibilities and more power and more money. But well, okay, yeah, don't we all? But like, what's your end goal? Like, do you want to stay within even your own work center, or do you want to move out of that? Like, so like, let's say for me, MVP or you're a mechanic. Okay, well, is your goal to be director of maintenance, or are you wanting to be like the director of accounting? Because that's going to kind of dictate where we drive these mentorship meetings.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to become the director of accounting, I'm not going to keep feeding you stuff to become better as a maintainer. I'm going to start tailoring these discussions to help you and get you focused on that transition.
Exactly.
But one of the sorry to cut you off. One of the best things that's happened to me with this mentorship is that the mentor has given me some critical thinking. And by that, I mean, they've made me really do some internal reflections, right? You go in there and say, I have these barriers and these roadblocks and I don't know how to overcome them. And I've hit a wall. Well, okay. So we'll talk about a few things. Well, what's the cause of these barriers, this and that? Well, if you go in there, well, it's because of this person and that person and everybody sucks and I'm doing everything right, but it's these people that's what's holding me back. Well, that might be true to some degree, but you're also at fault too. And that's what they've made me really do some internal reflection and go, oh, I do actually have some blame in this as well. Mm-hmm. I could have approached that better. I could have done things a little differently. I could have whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's that personal growth that we talked about. We've talked about the professional, but the personal side of that is going, oh, I'm just looking at it from everybody sucks and I'm the best, but actually I suck too. And I don't mean you suck as a human or whatever else, but on these specific instances, I performed inadequately than what I should have,
Right.
And that's been super beneficial to myself.
Right. And that's one of the things that you have to kind of accept as a person being mentored, as a mentee, is you got to be open to that constructive feedback. And sometimes that feedback is not what you want to hear, but you also got to be willing to accept it and to learn from it, or just say like, okay, this is where this person is coming from. And it's from a genuine mentor when like they say it in a way that's understandable for you. And it's also like a path forward. Like, okay, this is where you are now. This is what you personally did wrong, or this is what you personally lacked at. Here's how we can help make it better, right? I think that's like the number one quality of a mentor is they don't just leave you in that suck circle for too long, like they help you realize it, but they don't just let you dwell there like most other people who don't give a shit are. And it's almost like its own therapy session. Say it's not exactly like therapy because we don't dissect like facts and feelings and what drives you to think that way. In a way, yes, but mentorship is more like to give you like the tools to help you develop, not tools to help you figure out why things happen. And by all means, like if you need therapy, go for it. And I've actually had some mentors who flat out say like, hey, maybe you need to see a therapist for something, man. Like there's some internal problems going on that you need some professional help to deal with. And then once you have those tools to help you go for it, then we can move forward with everything else.
That's and I've had my mentor say, look, hey, before we kick this off, if you think I'm here to solve all your problems for you, you've got that wrong. I'll help you work through the problems, but the key words there is you and work.
Yep.
Like,
yes.
Hey, Six, here's all my problems, Six. Go take care of it for me. No, I have my own problems to deal with. Thank you. I don't need to deal with yours too.
Right.
I'll gladly give you guidance and tips and tricks that have worked for me that I'll share with you and bestow upon you to help you. And please, by all means, come back and let me know how that worked. What worked and what didn't work, and we'll reattack. But I am not here to solve all your problems for you.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, what do they call that? That lawnmower parenting, where you just kind of mow down everything in front, so there's no challenges.
Yeah, that's it.
So if Six is my lawnmower parent, then how am I to grow as a person?
Right.
If I face no challenges, right? I heard, what was it? I think it was a comedian or something was talking about his aunt, or somebody said had an old Southern saying that said, if the mountain was smooth, you couldn't climb it.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one,
right?
That's really a good one. Yeah. Like, wow, what a gut shot, man. But it's true. But it's absolutely true. And that's what the mentors are for. Like, I'm not here to remove the challenges from you. I'm just here to give you the tools to help you overcome them. And that's with any major accomplishment, or that's with any major development. Like, you're not there to make it smooth sailing. You're just there to help them make it not as hard as it should be, right? Or at least give them the tools to be better equipped to handle it. And some mentors will actually like give you projects for you to handle to help build that tool set.
I'm glad you said that, because that was going to be my next point was, hey, look, we've talked about you come to them and talk about roadblocks, and you've tried X, Y, Z, and it's not working. You need guidance. But mentorships don't have to be just about that. I mean, it could be one of those like, hey, you're in a position that I hope to get to one day. What are some things that you did to get there? What do I need? I need to become a better public speaker, and I need to become a better writer, right? Especially if you're going to be writing corporate policy, doctrine, contracts, whatever. How do I become better at that, right? I might not have any problems in my current work, but I need some things to work on to become better for that next step. And those people in those positions should be able to provide you some sort of path, some sort of like projects, like Six said.
Yeah.
You can, you want to become a better public speaker? Like I talked about earlier. Fantastic. Boy, there's this program over here that goes and talks to these kids in high school, gets them motivated, excited about aviation maintenance, and you're going to be that person now. Oh, boy. But that's how you get better, right? By doing, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
You want to become a better writer? Cool. Here's a writing class that the company puts on, or hey, the local community college actually has a writing class you can take in the evenings. It's a 2-week-long course, right? Something like that.
Yep.
Just any of those kind of things. But the point I want to get across to everybody is, if you've never had a mentor, especially one who's taken the time and shown interest in you, and they want to see you succeed and become better, man, I can't recommend it highly enough. It's really great,
mm-hmm.
to have somebody show dedication like that, or show an interest
Yes.
It's a great feeling. And you're going to learn so much. I promise. You're going to go, just like I said earlier, with these different groups that the company offers, right? Man, I didn't know that was there. Nobody said anything about it. Nobody, even in my chain of command, has said anything about it. Maybe I didn't ask, but I didn't know what to ask.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And there's definitely a lot of options out there. Like you can go to someone internal, you can go to someone external, you can have some kind of service or organization be that mentor for you. There's so many options out there. Like for instance, there's one of our guests, the remote AMT, where he has coaching and resume tips. There's the Elevate Aviation people up in Canada for all our Canadian peeps that actually have mentoring classes, and that you can actually like develop these essential skills and stuff. Or like in our cases, you can have someone that's internal to work with you, maybe just a different department, or someone just within a similar industry, but just outside of your organization as a whole. Either way, there's so many different ways to go about it, and we highly encourage that you do take advantage of it, especially if it's free, because the way things are evolving nowadays, the way things are developing, it's almost expected of you to be able to learn and adapt as fast, if not faster, than the way the system changes. And as MVP and myself are learning as we're going along, like being able to be that adaptable and being able to focus what you would like to achieve becomes harder and harder if you don't take advantage of these resources available to you, or you'll just you'll accomplish it, but a lot later than you intend to, and you'll just burn out a good chunk of the way through. So
yeah, and by all means, right? You feel free to rely on Six and myself, and even Shoreline for, if you have questions or whatever. I don't know if I'd be qualified to be a mentor at this point in my game. I'm sure I can in some regards, but I'm definitely not the best person out there either, right? But
right.
I can't recommend it enough. I think it's almost essential to have somebody mentor you, and if you can get multiple mentors, even better. Get as many perspectives on things as you can get. Pull the best from all and make that your mode of operation. So when the time is right, you can become that mentor for the next person.
Exactly. And sometimes, you need mentor for every stage, right, of where you're going through. Like it's totally okay to like, I just needed you for this one stage in my development. I just needed you for this one phase or this one thing I was doing. By all means, I mean, like that's the goal of the mentor, is not to be your sole one. Like I'm the one who got you to achieve the Emmys, or I'm the one who made you become the director of whatever have you. It's all incremental. It all comes in phases, and that should be understood as someone who is doing the mentoring. Like this person may not be the one that lasts throughout the entirety of their career progress. It's just the way it is. So,
yeah, and it's a good point, right? If I just became the director of maintenance, I'm not going to go ask. I'm not going to go ask my junior mechanic, hey, can you mentor me on this? Or I'm not going to go ask the IT manager, hey, can you be my mentor? I just became the director of maintenance. Well, I mean, I can, as the IT director, I'd say, well, I can give you some guidance on maybe some of the same forms and stuff we need to fill out as managers in this corporation. But as for running a maintenance shop, I'm not the right person for that, right?
Right.
You're going to want to go find somebody else who's done that before you, and get their input.
Exactly. And another thing is, a mentor doesn't have to be someone who's senior to you. It can be a peer, as MVP and I said. It can even be someone below you, as MVP and I said. Like, as long as it gives you that different perspective or that helps in your developmental stages, that's what matters most. And also be selective of who you're mentoring and who you're being mentored by. So as MVP said, like, we are very open to helping you in whatever stage in your development you are. If you're just kind of testing the waters to see how things are in aviation, or if you want to pick our brains for things that are slightly outside of aviation, like process, chain development, continuous improvement, podcasting, even, by all means, we're available to it. So, but let us know what you think. Like, what sort of things do you think makes a good mentor? What sort of things are expected of you as a mentee? Was there some stuff you want us to elaborate on? Would you like to know more about how we can help you with your mentorship goals? Let us know in the comments. Let us know in our socials, our website, our email, whichever is easiest for you. The absolute best way to get any sort of this stuff and have the best interaction with us is to get on Patreon and join us on Discord. We pretty much mentor each other like all the time. There's a lot of stuff that I'm learning from each and every one of our patrons, especially like firefighters, creating your own business in aviation, say, like all this stuff is just like, it's a new perspective to how I see things. And that's been like a huge help for us. So if that's something you want to take advantage of, by all means, like hop on Patreon, get on our Discord, and we'll have these discussions all the time. Anything else, MVP, for the audience?
Nope. I always say nope, and then I talk. Yeah, I just kind of want to reiterate what I said before. Can't recommend it enough, and I highly suggest all of you find a mentor in your own respective areas and outside of your areas. It'll just help you become a better at what you're doing.
Exactly. And again, like all this stuff it's all very transformational, it's very transitional, and it's almost expected of you to be able to develop and adapt to the way things are changing. On that note, we thank you all again for listening, and we'll see you all on the next one. And bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
We would like to take this time to thank our patrons for supporting our show and allowing us to make episodes, maintain our gear, and create merch for all of our listeners. With special thanks to Erica Lamont, Chris Hawkins, Eric Shaw, Dan Schubert, Ryan Frushauer, Kyle Keir, Mike Sherwood, Caleb Stockhill, and Jennifer Brofer. Thank you all so much for your support and patronage. If you like our show, please support us on Patreon. You'll receive awesome perks like access to our private Discord, discounts and early access to our merch, first glimpse of our comics and other projects, and so much more. You can further support us and show off your prowess as an aircraft specialist by visiting our shop at counselformaintenance.com. If you like classy or rugged watches, visit our affiliate Rockwell Time at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX4MX to save 10% off your total order. If you have suggestions for the show or you'd like to be a guest on the show, send us a line on our contact us section at counselformaintenance.com, and we'll do what we can to get both your ideas and yourself on the show. Please support us on social media like Facebook at Cancel for Maintenance, Instagram at CANX for Maintenance Podcast, or Twitter at CXMX Podcast. Please check out our new comic series on the Tapas app. Like, share, subscribe, and comment on our comics. Let us know what you think. Thank you all so much for your support and listenership, and we will catch you all next time.